November 2nd, 2017 marks the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists. The date was chosen in commemoration of the assassination of two French journalists in Mali on 2nd November 2013, as it is worrisome that only 1 in 10 cases committed against media workers over the past decade has led to a conviction. Well, in the studio tonight with us to shed more light on impunity against journalists is Rafat Salami. She is the Secretary of Council NUJ Abuja branch. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
All right, today marks the International Day of Impunity Against Journalists. Can you tell us the significance of this day?
Well, I've listened to what was being said earlier, and it's quite important for us as journalists to draw attention to the many issues affecting us, especially our safety as we do our jobs. The journalist is not safe, and according to the International Federation of Journalists, where journalists don't do their jobs, where they have fear, if they work in an atmosphere of fear, then democracy does not thrive. So it is important for government, if it is desirous of promoting democracy, to ensure that the journalist works in an atmosphere that is free, devoid of fear, and where there are infractions, the perpetrators are brought to book.
All right, you just made mention of risks, journalists being exposed to risks. Now, in your opinion, I want you to tell me, what can we say are crimes against journalists?
When you beat up a journalist on duty, when you push a journalist, when you shove a journalist, when you don't respect the journalist's time, when you break our equipment, when you seize our equipment, when you close down our media houses, when you confiscate our prints. Sometimes they just carry your laptop away, and you are wondering, what are you looking for in my laptop? Or they come into the media house and they bundle everybody away. We remember in January this year, Premium Times was searched, and the editor was bundled in and taken away until we intervened. And that is not nice. Just on Thursday last week, a journalist was beaten in Jabi here in Abuja.
That's true.
He was beaten, his camera was smashed, the memory card in his camera was removed and broken. Why do you do that? Why don't you want that story told? Because he was there to cover a story. So the issue is, why don't you want that story told? You have something to hide. And those are the kind of infractions we see nearly every day, and it's increasing, and the NUJ is getting really worried about that.
All right, you just made mention of some issues, some bottlenecks bordering journalism in Nigeria as a whole. Now, in your own opinion, I want you to tell me, what are the measures you think can be put in place to actually curtail all these menace?
Or increase partnership, increase education, increase advocacy. Good thing, I mean, this is one of the things we can do. We're dedicating airspace to talk about it. So we want to see a continuing engagement. Like I told another group earlier today, the NUJ is not on a warpath with the security agencies, and they shouldn't see us as adversaries. We should complement each other's work in nation building. So when there are elements within the Nigeria Army or within the Nigeria Police or any set of security agency who think the journalist is the enemy, then it is important for the authorities of these agencies to educate their people. And what the IFJ also wants to use today to draw attention to is that when such crimes are not investigated and perpetrators are not brought to book, it means it is acceptable. That is the impunity with which the international community wants to address. A journalist was killed in Bayelsa, was it Bayelsa or Rivers State earlier this year, by two hoodlums, so to say. They still have not been apprehended. The person who broke the camera of our reporter on Thursday, he works with Daily Trust, has not been apprehended. I mean, and many, who killed Delegiwa? We keep asking these questions. Back to history. So it's been ongoing. It's been recurring. And when such are not investigated, then it reduces the impetus in the journalist to do his or her job.
Now, can we say journalists are not being taken serious, or their welfare are not being catered for?
Can we say that is the reality?
That is the reality, right?
That's the reality. A lot of journalists have not been paid in the last 12 months. We are currently before the Ministry of Labor, we're discussing such payments in an organization where a colleague told me he has not been paid in 24 months. We have other, it ranges between 3, 4, 5. That is, the 24 months is the extreme case we have at hand. Now, when you do not pay a journalist, what is much more criminal? That's slavishness. You are enslaving the journalists. So why wouldn't we as a nation criminalize such actions by employers?
Well, moving on, you just made mention of payments. I can assure you that I'm being paid as a journalist.
No, if you are not being paid, I'll close this place down now.
The organization pays me, and that's why I work.
Thank you.
Let's look at professionalism in terms of journalism. Talking about training and retraining of journalists. What's your opinion?
Education is a continuing process. At no point are we going to say we are fully trained, no more training. Okay. We are going to continue to, because the dynamics of broadcasting or journalism or media practice is changing. As it is changing, you need to up the game of the practitioners. So there is a need for continuing education. The NUJ is doing a bit of that. Okay. There's an International Institute of Journalism here because the NUJ recognizes that there are lots of people in this profession who aren't necessarily trained to be journalists.
Yes.
So that institute gives you an avenue to go and do a diploma, and then you'll be exposed to the rudiments, the rules, the do's and don'ts, the ethics of the profession. Beyond that, there are also short trainings that the NUJ in partnership with other institutes also offer. Okay. So it is for the journalist to avail himself or herself to these training opportunities. But importantly, is a continuum. At no point are you going to say you are overtrained for your job, because there are new, discourse. Models. Everything is coming up. Something new is coming up every day in the profession. All right,
you agree with me that impunity breeds impunity and feeds a vicious cycle. Looking at the NUJ, what can we say is the state of the NUJ as we speak?
The NUJ is not as strong as it would want to be.
Reason being that?
Because if the journalists who are not paid their salaries cannot pay their dues, so as they do not pay their dues, I'm unable to run the secretariat of the union the way I'm supposed to run it. Because there are lots of journalists who are not being paid. There is also, it appeared as though journalism in Nigeria is an all-comer affair. It's perhaps one of the professions that is easily faked. We have too many fake journalists in our midst. And the union is working hard to, distinguish, to sift the fake from the original. Yes. And one of the things we're doing, my ID card, I dropped it. We have a new ID card.
Okay.
The ID card is equipped with a security measure, a security feature. It has a QR security feature, such that, like the issue of security men, you encounter a journalist, you are not sure that person is really a journalist, you doubt the authenticity of that journalist. Using your QR app on your phone, you scan.
Wow.
And it will show you who the person is. If it doesn't read, it means that ID card is fake.
Okay.
It started, the NUJ rolled it out in April. It is continuing.
April this year?
Yeah, it is continuing, and many journalists have enrolled in it. So those are some of the things we're doing to see that we remove fake journalists from our midst. Of course, the NUJ cannot say if you are not registered, you cannot practice your job. But if you look at the constitution of the NUJ, the NUJ is the umbrella body for all journalists in this country. Yeah, the NUJ is to journalists what the NMA is to medical doctors, what the MBA is to lawyers. So you cannot be a journalist and say you are not a member of the NUJ. And though, of course, the Constitution guarantees your freedom of association, you can choose to be or choose not to be. But if you are not, then we're not going to stand for you. We're not going. You don't know us. We may not be there for you when you need us. So that is the way it works. So right now, the NUJ is scaling up on the registration of
Talking about standing for me when I need the NUJ. Now, there are a lot of cases, impunities against journalists. And most of those journalists, the NUJ don't stand for them.
That's not true.
But why are we not seeing the perpetrators brought to book?
The NUJ, we are not an investigative body. We are citizens of this country. It is the primary responsibility of government to ensure our security, and it is the duty of government to investigate these cases. We issued a press statement on Thursday when a journalist was brutalized, and we drew attention of government to that. We expect the rights. The incident itself is the brutalization is documented at the police station in Jabi, or a life camp. So it is the duty of government and its agencies to prosecute or to investigate and prosecute whoever is responsible. It is not the journalist who does that.
I want to find out, is there a follow-up system? Because I want to believe it's beyond press release and press statement. Is there a follow-up system being put on ground, being put in place to make sure that these issues are being followed up and treated?
Have we not been following up on the Legiwa? What has happened? That's the classic case we have. What has happened? But we'll keep it up. We'll keep up the pressure. We'll keep up the tempo. And we hope they will understand that where there is a murder or where there is an infraction, if you do not address it, like you said, you breed more impunity. The idea is when you tell people it's not okay, then there's a tendency for its frequency to reduce. But if you don't prosecute, you don't do anything about it, you are indirectly saying it's okay to do it.
All right, I've been speaking with Rafsat Salami. She is the Secretary, NUJ Abuja branch. Many thanks for having you on PTV Primetime News tonight.
Nice.
All right, you